Good afternoon, one and all present here. I welcome you all to the third day of International Women's Day 2021 celebrations at NIT Tiruchirappalli in association with Officers Club. Here we are at the third day of the session where I would like to sum up what happened in the last 2 days. On the day one, the session was inaugurated by Professor Dr. V. Elizabeth of Tamil Nadu National Law University, Tiruchirappalli, presided over by Director of NITT, Dr. Mini Saji Thomas. And the second day, we had a throwball match, an offline session, where it was inaugurated by Dean Faculty Welfare, Dr. Kumaresan Sir, and in the presence of Mini Saji Thomas, Director NITT, where students, faculty, and staff participated enthusiastically since it was a very much awaited session after a very long pandemic. And today, in the day 3 of the session, we have our chief guest, Dr. Lata Ramaseshan, and I would like to introduce a bit about her before going into the session. Dr. Lata Ramaseshan, ma'am, she works in R.K. Swamy BPTO Advertising Private Limited, where she heads the Information Research Division. She has been volunteering in social sector for 3 decades, and she is an executive member of Roshni Chennai, a women's organization that works with women in general and Muslim women in particular, that encourages and empowers women through a process of mutual understanding, cooperation, and positive action. She is also the advisor to Social Rural Development Trust, SED, an organization based in Chengalpattu that works in the area of girls' education among the most impoverished families in Kanchipuram district of Tamil Nadu. She is also an NGO member in the following committees on sexual harassment: Committee for Complaints Against Sexual Harassment, IIT Madras, and Internal Complaints Committee, Satish Dhawan Space Center, Sriharikota. Throughout her career, she has worked and volunteered with several organizations on various women's issues. I welcome you, ma'am, for today's session, and we take immense pleasure in having you as our guest. The platform is over to you.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I thank Dr. Minnie Thomas for inviting me and Dr. Jayashree for inviting me to address on the topic of gender sensitization for NIT Trichy on the occasion of the International Women's Day celebrations at NIT Trichy. I thank you a lot for giving me an opportunity. And the topic given to me is gender sensitization. And before getting into gender sensitization, I would like to, I'd like to elaborate what is gender? What exactly is gender? What is gender sensitization? What is gender gender bias? What is gender discrimination? So, since we are talking of gender, I'll just put forth a couple of questions. I mean, because it is, it's a virtual meeting, here are the questions that I would like to place gender in what is known as gender. So, how should men and women dress? Is there an answer to it? I mean, we all know how men dress and women dress, and I don't know what is the mind thinking on this question of how men and women should dress, so I leave it at that. What should be the role of men and women at home? So this is another aspect that you can think of, and what are the answers that would be to something like this? Is it an equal relationship? Is it an equal partnership? Is it slightly biased? Is it more biased for women than men? Is it more biased for men than women? So I leave it to you. How do you refer to a woman working at home? Now, this is something that most of us know. I mean, I'm sure in our minds we would say, yes, it is either a homemaker or a housewife. Are we putting a value to the kind of work that she does at home? So I'll begin with these questions and we can ponder about it and think of what are the answers to this before I get into what gender sensitization is all about. Now, to look at gender sensitization, I would like to place it in the context of sex and gender. So, what is sex? Sex indicates the biological characteristics of a man and a woman. People are born male, people are born female. Of course, there is the transgender, and they remain male or female throughout their life in terms of their biological makeup. So, the biological difference between men and women is identified at birth. For example, we know that only women can give birth. So the sex refers to the biological and physiological characteristics that define men and women. So let's take a look at what is gender. Now, gender refers to the socially constructed roles, behaviors, activities, and attributes that a given society considers appropriate for men and women. For example, the difference between sex and gender. See, we are filing a form. You know, you have this form which says sex, and then it's called male and female, and you tick either male or female. While gender is different. Gender denotes masculine and feminine. So while male and female are sex categories, masculine and feminine are gender categories. Childbirth is the preserve of the woman. But what about child rearing? Is it the preserve of the woman? Is it the preserve of the man? Is it the preserve of both? Today, yes, child rearing is done by both parents in most families. But what is the burden of child rearing that is happening in societies today is what we would be like, we could think of, okay? Both men and women can do. Society norms indicate that the role of the women is to bring up children. I'll give you an example. See, a girl is educated. She's very good, well educated. She gets into the, any girl, I mean, I'm not even saying of education. A woman gets to work. She starts working. She gets married. And when a child is born, she drops off the education system because she has to take care of the child, she has to take care of the house, she has to do a lot of things which is beyond her, while the man keeps continuing to work. In circumstances also, it is when the woman sends the child to the daycare center, there are people at home to take care of the child, or she may take the child to a creche and leave the child there. I mean, there are women who are still doing that. But the kind of pressures that she faces is she's not taking care of her child. She's sending the child away to a creche. She has her parents and in-laws to take care of the child. She is going to work. These are things that I think every woman faces in her life when, you know, if a situation like that arises. So this is the kind of gender bias that we are talking of, in a position in which the woman is also going to work. And when a woman drops from work, then it's a different scene altogether, because she's taking care of the home all through the day and of her children all through the day. So I would then like to indicate what is gender. See, gender indicates characteristics, positions, and role of men and women in all relationships. See, it's a given that women will have to take care of the home if there are children, right? So that's a gender bias, or that's a gender characteristic, okay? There are there are also some gender stereotypes which are constructed. See, masculine versus feminine. Why can't both men and women have both masculine and feminine qualities? For example, strong and tough is a masculine quality. It could also be part of a woman's quality, you know. Gentle and feminine and gentle is a woman's quality. It could also be a part of the man's quality, but these are constructs that are formed by society, which is ingrained in all of us. I mean, you know, it takes a long time for us to really think in terms of what is a gender stereotype, okay? Work at home versus place in the world. A woman generally works at home, with the place where the man works outside, there's a place for him in the world outside. There's a aggression versus passivity. A man is always says, yes, you have to be very aggressive. You have to do this, you have to do that. While for a woman, oh, you can be passive. It's a question of aggression versus passivity, and physical action versus activity versus non-physical activity. Here again, see what happens is physical activity. I don't know what is happening in NIT Trichy, but it's just a small kind of a research that was done. See, sports in colleges, it's most of the boys who participate in sports. The girls do less. I'm saying in a hostel setup, it's boys who come out more playing, football or basketball or even tennis or cricket. While you'll see less of girls coming out into the open and playing. Okay, so this is something which is again a gender bias. It is something that says, okay, the girl should not play and the boys should play. I'm just talking of a small system. I'm talking in schools and colleges, across systems, across the spectrum of society where physical activity takes place. Okay. Here again, I would stop and once again ask a couple of questions. Should we assign specific colors to babies? What I mean by colors is, in the retail stores today, if you are buying some clothes for the babies, for newborn babies, you will say that blue is assigned to a baby boy, pink is assigned to a baby girl. Why should that be? You could even wear a pink dress for a baby boy and a blue dress for a baby girl. So why is it that the color pink is associated with women? I mean, this is across. It is not just from the baby stage. I'm saying certain colors are specifically assigned to men. Certain colors are specifically assigned to women. Okay. What kind of toys do we buy for children? A boy, a 3 or 4 year old boy, will never get a doll as a gift. He will never be allowed to play with a doll. Okay. At most, there are cars, there are aeroplanes, there are all kinds of things, but a doll will never be given to a boy. On the other hand, if you look across, I'm talking of middle class, if you look across and you see, a little girl will always carry a soft toy and a doll. I've hardly seen boys carry a soft toy. Okay. But it's the girls who carry a soft toy. So this is the gender sensitivity that we can look at. We can buy toys of any kind for either girl or either boy, or either girl child or either boy child, and let them play with it. These are the kind of differences or perceptions of biases that are seen across the country or across societies today. Next, boys don't cry. I mean, that is something which is there as ingrained in the memory of both mothers and fathers. ஒரு குழந்தை ஒரு boy child அழுதுனா, they'll say, no, boys should not child, stop crying. And the kind of message that is sent to the boy, to a child who's crying for some chocolate, அழக்கூடாது. See, that is the kind of message that boys don't cry. Look at the kind of psychological makeup that a boy starts having from the time when he's 3 or 4 years old. And what is the kind of mental, challenges he might face when he grows older, when he's working, when he's earning, when he's married. It's a completely lopsided way of bringing up a boy child. We are from better families or higher income, higher middle class families, in which this again also happens. This does happen in every strata of society. So what are the norms and expectations of gender? See, the norms and expectations are set up by tradition, by society, by culture, and by religion. Okay. Norms that set typical an ideal male and female behavior favor different roles and responsibilities for men and women. So this is something which is absolutely ingrained. Of course, it is changing, but a lot needs to be changed more. For example, women should not work after 6 p.m. Should come home before 6 p.m. or 8 p.m. If it's a man or a boy, he can come back at 10 o'clock. It is not an issue. That kind of freedom is given to him. But for women, they should be home before 8 p.m. So if it's a girl, she might say, no, I want to come back after that. But then again, there is curfew at home and she has to come back by 6 p.m. Again, as I was mentioning, feelings and emotions. Boys don't cry. A girl child can cry as much as she wants. They don't allow her. Seri girl child, she can cry. But if a boy cannot cry. So girls show their feelings and empathy more than girls show their feelings more than boys. Boys are made to subjugate their feelings and emotions. Okay. Systems of learning and communication. This is something that I would like to share an example. I work in Chengalpet with girl children, and now during the COVID time, there is no education. For the first 9 months, schools have not working, and in government schools, in technology dark areas, I'm talking of areas where access to a cell phone, access to a laptop, access to a smartphone or a broadband is low. I'm only talking of those areas where the online systems have not been rolled out. Online education or virtual education has not been rolled out, and you have girls and boys who are given some kind of education where the government teachers go from village to village and try to teach them 1 or 2 days. I mean, this is happening at a voluntary basis. Okay, what is happening to the girl and the boy child during the COVID? It's a very it's a sad situation, I will say, because for one, the education system has lagged behind. But what is happening to a girl who's studying from, say, class 8 or class 9 upwards, and a boy who's studying from class 8 or class 9 upwards? You see that the mother and the father, in Tamil Nadu, it was harvest time for some time, right? So they go out to work. The mother may be doing some cooking, but she gives the responsibility of taking care of the home to the girl child. She tells, these are instances, real life instances of quoting. She tells the girl, "Oh, just do a little bit of cooking. Take care of your sister or brother, or of your sister and brother." Okay. And you can also, then she does that. She washes the clothes, she washes the vessels, she's taking care of her sisters and brothers, she's giving them food. So through the day, from 9 to 5, the girl child is working at home. This is happening in rural villages. On the other hand, what is happening to the boy child? Okay, the mother and father go out. The boy is there, class 9 boy. He doesn't know what to do. His absolute leisure time is that, he needs to have a funky hairstyle. He goes there, and then he goes to meet his friends under a tree. And there is a smart cell phone that is there in the village, or some of them may have smartphones. They all sit together and they watch some form of entertainment. One really doesn't know what the form of entertainment is. Is it movies or is it anything else? We do not know. And look at the kind of messages that the boy is getting, or look at the kind of leisure activity that the boy is undergoing vis-a-vis the girl child who's now, or the girl who's now having so much responsibilities, and she's taking care of the entire home. So this bias that, girls have to take care of the home, this kind of a responsibility can also be given to a boy, saying, okay, take care of your brothers and sisters, give them food, do a little bit of cooking, but this message does not go to the boy at all. It's the girl who's taking the responsibility of running a home during COVID. And teachers are saying that, they are afraid that there might be a dropout. Tamil Nadu has a fairly good, a high level of enrollment, almost 100% till class 10. And they fear that there may be a dropout of girl children from class 8 upwards in the next when the school starts, and they will have to work all over again to bring them back in the school and to relearn them of the reading, writing, math, and things like that. So this is a bias. This is a norm. This is a behavior that is being set up at home, where the girl child will take care of the family, the boy child has a leisure, and the boy child will be given other messages. You have to work, you have to earn, so you do that. You don't need to take anything else on. But these are ground level realities that are happening now. So when we are talking of learning and communication, I'm not just talking in the school education system. I'm talking of the kind of communication that is happening within families, where there is a separate set of communication for girls, there is a separate set of communication for boys, and this is how the biases and the discrimination starts. I'll give you another instance. This is access to resources and power. How are resources and power accessed in a family? This happens across, but I'm just giving you an example again from Kanjipuram, where I work. These are technology dark areas. Okay, cell phone access is there. The smartphone is with the head of the family, which is the father. The father has the smartphone. Okay, only about 10 in 40 or 50 of them, and 10 in 50 women have a cell phone, which is a feature phone. So the smartphone access is one, which is with the father, and the mother probably may use or not use the phone of the father's. But if she has a cell phone, it is a feature phone. So the feature phone, the display is small, the smartphone, the display is big. What happens to use of the cell phone? The father naturally prefers to give it to the boy rather than the girl. So the boy has access to a smartphone. Okay. So the boy has access to a smartphone. The boy sees everything that is possible in a smartphone. Of course, the girl is also smarter. She learns. She learns a lot of things from the smartphone when it comes to her. But access to the smartphone is primarily the man and the boy. And we have done studies of this. That's why I'm talking about it. What happens to the feature phone? If the mother has a feature phone, most homes, mothers don't have feature phones, but if the mother has a feature phone, that feature phone is used by the girl. And what does she access it for? She accesses it for information from ration. Ration lendu vandacha. What is the kind of money that has been paid in the ration? What are the kind of government schemes? Because a lot of government related schemes come on SMS. So she's more aware of the kind of things that are happening in the SMS space, which is free and which the government gives. Then she is for entertainment. I mean, of course, I would not say it's primarily for entertainment. Yes, Google is used for a lot of other things too. But this is the kind of discrimination that we are seeing in a use of a smartphone. I mean, this is a modern technology. We expect that everything will be great, but this is the kind of things that we are seeing at the ground level. This is not just happening it is not just happening in Kanchipuram. In Chennai too, this is what is happening. Of course, Chennai government has rolled out online classes, and so the smartphone is there. And because it's a smartphone, there are access to smartphones have been given through a lot of, if they don't have a smartphone, there are smartphones, NGOs which have stepped in to give smartphones, NGOs which do a top up. But this is the situation as far as use of technology is concerned. I'm just giving you some examples of resources and power. So if it is technology, you can see the kind of resource. If it's an earning male, how much of money does he give to the woman to run a house? How much does he keep for himself? So that is the control of resources that a male has over a female or a man has over a woman. So these are the norms and expectations that society imposes, which is set up by tradition, by culture, by religion also. And these are typical roles and responsibilities that have been ingrained in us. It could just be either way. They are just smart work. But this is not how it operates in our country, in our societies today. I would like to now next talk of patriarchy. So what is patriarchy? See, patriarchy is defined as the control of labor, reproductive power of women for the benefit of women. Okay. So it explains how different societies construct male authority and power. It is a masculine domination over women. Now, this is what patriarchy means. I mean, we use the word patriarchy in a number of instances, but this is what patriarchy means. So, patriarchy subordinates, discriminates, and is unjust to women. I'll give you an example. Um, for example, a girl when she's married, from the time that she's born to her menarche, to her marriage, to her children, is completely celebrated in all homes. I mean, we are seeing that. We see this great celebration of a girl from the time she's born to the time she's married. But what happens afterwards? She gets children. Okay, what happens to a woman who does not get a child? Okay, maybe 1 year after marriage, 2 years after marriage, 3 years after marriage, she still. Then you have people around her giving her advice, saying that, there's something, you must try to do something, you must do something about it. So, this kind of pressure that she feels, she's not able to say anything. And that is when I think gender sensitization may step in. I mean, there's somebody who says, look, it's okay. I mean, it's not as if, she may get a baby, she may not get a baby. Just don't stress her. Okay. Gender sensitization at the individual level can happen like that. After this, okay, then you have assisted reproduction. She goes through assisted reproduction, and assisted reproduction is also very painful. 3 times, 4 times, fifth time she gets a child. But if she wants a child, it's fine. She's going through the whole process of both mental and physical pain. But if she does not, if she fails, okay, I'm fine. The physical pain is much higher. And with assisted reproduction, it is an advancement in science. I'm not saying that, because I think it is a great advancement in science that assisted reproduction has come in. IVF and surrogacy and other methods. But despite all the assisted reproduction, if a woman is not able to bear a child, the agony that she goes through because she's not able to conceive is more, and it is also reinforced by all her people around her, by her near and dear ones, or by people who say, why, what is happening, why is it that this is not happening? This is absolutely patriarchal in nature, and this is something that can be tackled by gender sensitivity, saying that it's okay, it's okay, it doesn't matter, this is what happens, this is fine. We could, one could help in terms of gender sensitivity. I would like to touch on another thing called widowhood. See, if a man dies, the woman becomes a widow, and it becomes very difficult. And it is ingrained in the woman that she has to behave in a certain way. It is not as if anybody is telling her to do that. She takes on that role. She takes on a patriarchal role, saying that she has to behave in a certain way. For example, we all keep flowers, and when she becomes a widow, she does not keep flowers. There's no way in which she will keep flowers in her hair. I will give you my own example. My mother used to wear very large bindis. She would love large bindis, and she used to wear it. When my father died, she wore those bindis. But someone came home and commented on that. And the next day, she switched to wearing small bindis. Now, we are a very strong family. My mother was also a very strong woman. But she switched from wearing a large bindi to a small bindi. And somewhere in her heart, in her mind, she felt the guilt. She felt that she was not doing the right thing in wearing a big bindi. Now, this is so patriarchal because we wear a bindi from the time we are born. We wear it all the time. I mean, from the time a child is born, a girl child is born, there is a black tikka, there is a bindi. Children wear bindis to school. We wear bindis all the time. So why is it when there is a widowhood, women have to take off their bindis, women have to take off their hair? This is again patriarchal. My mother was patriarchal at heart and she could not do that. She could not switch to wearing a large bindi anymore. Despite all of us telling her that no, she doesn't need to do it, she felt somewhere that she was letting down my father, and it was something that we could not even do anything about. So the patriarchal ingraining is there with the woman too. She doesn't need to do that. It is a gender role. It is a gender construct. Anybody can do anything. It's not required that a woman needs to behave in a particular way. So there again, gender sensitization should happen, and we should encourage people, our near and dear ones, our friends and families, to say that look, this is not the right thing, and this can go on. It is not as if this has to stop at some point in time. Property inheritance. Women has access to women has can inherit property. This is something which is there in, that the laws say that women can inherit property. But there are so many property disputes in which the brothers do not want to give the property to the sister. This is again patriarchy. Of course, there is the element of wealth and everything added to this. But the general feeling is the sister is married, she's gone to another house, so she cannot demand my property. I mean, this is something which can be talked out. I mean, okay, it is not as if, the sister is not entitled to a property. For all said and done, the sister may just say, give me something, I'm fine with it. But the aggression is so strong in all the property disputes that, it goes to the courts and finally it is settled in some way. So these are the patriarchal norms, patriarchal different constructs. These are patriarchal constructs that exist in our society today. And I will just next talk about women employment. See, work done by women in a home is unrecognized. The people do not recognize the work that she does. Because, it is subliminal, taking care, feeding, cooking, cleaning. It is out of love and care and love and affection that she does for the family. But there's no value imputed to the kind of work that she does at home. What happens to women who work? As I told you, let's take a look at women are always doing work which is highly repetitive. Gender, I'm talking of women gender. Take, for example, the garment factory. Women are very disciplined, women are very productive, women are very quality conscious. And so you will find that there are a lot of women who work in garment factories vis-a-vis a male, and they are more skilled and they are more productive. But what happens to the salary that a woman gets? See, that again is discrimination. See, there's a study which says, it is done by Monster Salary Index. It's a kind of a private study that was done. And it says that women in the country earn 19% less than men. So it says the median gross hourly salary for men is in 2018 was 242. For women, it was 196. So you can imagine there is a 46 rupees difference between a man's salary and a woman's salary. Okay. Night shifts. It is only recently, I think in November 2020, that night shifts were made, that women could also do night shifts. Before that, women could not do night shifts. And as a result of it, see, the women lost out on a lot of things. For example, night shift, you get more incentives, you get more bonuses, and it goes to the male while it doesn't go to the female. So in that way, access to resources, access to power, this is discrimination. Woman would have wanted to get into night shift, and she was not. She, it is only now that the government of India has given a notification, Labor Ministry, saying that women can work. I'm talking of factory sector. Women can work in night shifts in factories. I will just briefly touch on sexual harassment in the workplace. This, of course, there is an act which is part of women employment. There is an act called POSH, Prevention of Sexual Harassment Act, where the act says that every institution, every company, every office has to have a complaints committee in place, and people will have to give their complaints. So and women can come and give their complaint against a complaint, and the committee will look into it. Now, this is to do with examples of sexual harassment where it is a power structure, where a male harasses a woman. Women can come and give a complaint in the complaints committee. I'm not touching much on this because I think this is also part and parcel of gender sensitivity and how men and women work in an office space. Okay, so if there is more, understanding of each other, and if there is more sensitivity, I think these kind of complaints would, the complaints that it would not give way for these kind of complaints. I will next touch on gender in crimes against women. Okay, physical violence at home, mental violence, rape, sexual assault, stalking, a lot of crimes are against women specifically. Okay, to understand what is this gender crimes, let me just give you a statement. All men do not indulge in harassing women. All men definitely do not indulge in harassing women. But all women would have faced some sort of sexual harassment in their life. This is the difference, because this gender violence against women is horrific. Even today, there was a newspaper. I mean, it's horrific stories. Newspaper report today said about how the man came drunk, then he beat the woman, and then he went to kill a 4-year-old child. I mean, it is something which is terrible. But what happens when something like this happens? When there is a harassment for the woman, she will not talk about it, and thinking that it is more her fault than it is somebody else's fault. So it is deep down. She doesn't even discuss about this with anybody at all most of the times. What happens I will give you an example of violence at home. Okay, physical violence at home. This is again example from my own experiences. This child is studying in class 5, and during the COVID time, these are all stories during the COVID times. These are all real life incidents during the COVID times. The girl child is studying in class 5. The mother and the mother and the father are at home because there's no work, and so they are at home. The mother early morning, she gets up. They have hens and chicks. So she gets up, she opens the coop, the chicks go out, she gives them food, she gives them grains, they graze, and then in the night she again pushes them back into the coop. She puts it back into the coop. Now what this child is explaining to us, one morning the mother asks, the husband is sleeping, doesn't get up early, is completely sleeping till 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. The mother asks the father to take the chickens out and to give them the grains. The man does not do that, and he goes out. And then she comes, she says that the work has not been done. So she opens the coop, she lets the hens out and the chicks out, and then she gives them the grains, and then they are grazing out. 2 hours later, the man comes in drunk, and he beats her black and blue, saying, "How dare you tell me to do a job of this kind?" The child is a witness to all this. The child runs away from home and she goes to the neighbor. Of course, the kinship is so strong in villages because, if something like this happens, entire village will come out, all the women folk will come out, and then all the women folk came out, and then they separated the man and they said, "This cannot happen." So this is a kind of physical, this is not just lower homes or lower middle class homes. This is happening across all homes. During the COVID situation, there are studies where women, their domestic violence against women has increased. So these are studies by National Commission for Women. So the crimes against women again can be lessened by gender sensitization. If we think of ourselves as being gender equal, if men change their attitudes and their patriarchal norm type stereotypical mindsets, because this is finally a mindset, these situations can definitely change. How does the media look at this? See, where there's violence, where there's a violence against women, the media sensationalizes everything. It does not go back to find out what exactly happened. For them, it's only one story with a big headline, and it is, after all, very faceless because it's a woman who has undergone a lot of problems. So it actually does not address the problem from the point of view of women or consider a woman's experience. It only takes a police constable story and it puts it. There are no stories which talk of what exactly happened. So this is something which we can also, sensitize and say reporting cannot be done like this. In fact, today there is a horror story, how in the media, I'm just digressing, in the media, there are 3 Afghan women who have been killed because they were editors, where they were working in a TV channel in Afghanistan. So you can look at the kind of, not India, it's Afghanistan, but look at the kind of bias discrimination that is there against women. After all, the women were coming out to work in a TV channel. They don't have the freedom to work in TV channels too, or in publications, in print, in media. Today, of course, in Tamil Nadu, we see a lot of women coming out, reporting by women, anchoring by women, which is very healthy. But I was just giving an example when talking of media, what happens across societies as far as women are concerned. This is universal. This is not just to India. India has its own problems because of unemployment, because of inequality. The systems are so different, but universally there is gender bias or gender bias against women, gender discrimination against women across the world. What are the gender roles in society? Women do specific work, men do specific work. Let's take a look at the construction sector. Construction sector, the women are only loaders, sittal, while the man is the mestri. You will hardly find any women as mestris. Even if you find them, it's great success stories. We did a program in which we actually taught women to be mestris. It was a program with engineers, with architects, and a lot of women were actually, education was, a lot of women were trained to be mestris. But what happens? See, again, gender sensitization can happen at all levels. The contractor who was actually hiring the mestris refused to hire the women. One, because he said they are women. It's the mestri who can do the job. Two, because he said they don't know the job. 3, because he said they don't have skills in their hands. Despite, of course, we could place some women, but despite all this, which is a great success, but despite all this, there is a great discrimination that is faced as far as gender roles are concerned. I mean, a contractor will, in his mind, he never recognizes a woman as a mestri. He is only recognizing a woman as a loader. மேல தூக்கிட்டு போறது as a சித்தாள். சரி, அங்கேருந்து இங்க, அங்கேருந்து சிமெண்ட் எடுத்துட்டு வந்து, அதை எடுத்துட்டு வந்து, இது எடுத்து. He does not look at women as somebody who can climb up that professional ladder. How many women members are there in parliament? I mean, Tamil Nadu is going for elections now. How many women are going to get a seat to compete? A seat to fight the elections. We can see that. We all know that there are more men than women. Even though Panchayat Raj, we know that Panchayat Raj has 33% has been reserved for women. We know how the Panchayat Raj system works, how women are. The resources and power rests with the husband, while the woman is more of a front. Of course, now I think a lot of things are changing at the ground level, but the resources and power rest with the husband. So any decision that has to be made within the Panchayati Raj or within a government system, she takes the advice of her husband, and then she says that. She's not an independent decision maker, is what I would like to say. There are studies in US which say that girl children are not encouraged to take maths. These are studies in the US. That was an amazing fact. It's something which, because here I think maths is more important, and girl children are not allowed to study maths. We do have a lot of legislative safeguards in the country. It's excellent. I mean, there is room for more improvement. But as far as women are concerned, there are a lot of legislative safeguards. There is Article 15 of the Constitution, which prohibition of discrimination on grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, or place of birth. Then special measures by different states have been taken for women and children. Tamil Nadu is a very welfare state. There are so many measures that are targeted at women and children. A whole lot of things are targeted at women and children. National Commission for Women is a shining example for helping women, which was set up in 1992. And of course, you have the 33%, 33% you have reservation for women in the Panchayati Raj system. And of course, there are the family laws which aid women in marriage and divorce and inheritance and property rights. So we do have a lot of progressive rights. We do have laws and rights which do favor the women. But what really happens at the grassroots level is, of course, there is a lot of room for improvement at the grassroots. And gender sensitization can happen at every level. I mean, those biases which are there, which even women carry, which men carry too, can be changed. And we can look at an egalitarian and just society where both men and women are equal. So I will just give a definition for what gender equality is. It means creating a new social order in which men and women can live equally, individually, and collectively, built on an economic and social equality and liberated from violence and conflict. So it is actually transforming all social relations of power that express, that exploit, that oppress, that marginalize any set of people, men and women, on the basis of their gender, age, sexual orientation, ability, and go towards a just and equal society. So, in conclusion, I would like to say that gender sensitization means that their access to opportunity and life changes is neither dependent nor constrained by their gender. So the access is not constrained by gender, in which women play an equal role on access to all the all the projects, all access to resources that is available. How can we work towards gender equality, gender sensitization, and gender equality, where both men and women can work equally? See, that is what we would like. There are a lot of homes where child rearing is shouldered by both men and women. In most of our homes, in privileged homes, the men and women do take care of children. But is it there across the entire spectrum of society? This is something which we'll have to take a look at. I mean, starting from child rearing, where yes, the lunches are packed by one parent, sending the child, taking the child is done by another parent. But is this there across all spectrums of society? Is what we would like to see. Respect each other. That is the primacy of gender sensitization. And gender sensitization should probably begin from the time when the child is 4 or 5, where there are no differences, that both girls and boys are equal, that girls can climb trees as well as boys. It's not just boys who can cycle or who can use the scooter, it's girls also who can use the scooter and the cycle. And if this is starting at a very young age, I think I think we would have achieved gender sensitization for children, for society in general. Okay. There is social media today, which is giving a lot of help in terms of meeting and collecting and respecting. Of course, I wouldn't like to comment much on social media, but we can use media as a tool to help in gender sensitization. Not only that, in our own little ways, in our own homes, in our neighborhoods, we can try and bring about gender sensitization to for anybody who comes in our life. We can, for anybody who touches our life. And with this, I will conclude my talk. And are there any questions that you would like to ask? Because it's a huge topic. I can go on and on and on, because it's something where it's gender studies are studies by themselves, and gender sensitization is a sensitization study by itself. It's a huge, I mean, there's so much of research that has been done on this. But I would close my talk and wait for any questions that are there, any responses that are there. Yeah, Dr. Yeah.
Thank you very much, madam, for actually raising our sensitivity towards such issues related to gender. There are a few questions which featured in the YouTube comment box, and some others as well. So I'll just take one from the YouTube chat box. In 1987, after second standard, I got ideas about multiple marriages. Please share.
One second, I can't hear you.
Ma'am, am I audible now?
Yeah. Can you just raise your voice? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
The question goes like, this. In 1987, after second standard, I got ideas about multiple marriages. Please share your ideas if you have any. This is one question that is featured in the YouTube comment.
What do you mean by multiple marriages?
Probably, I don't know, madam. Probably polygamy. I have no idea. I just took it from the chat box.
Okay. See, polygamy, it is a polygamy is according to Hindu law, polygamy is not is cannot be. You cannot. It's a law. You cannot You cannot have multiple marriages according to Hindu law. So the law does not allow for polygamy. So
Okay. Madam, the second question goes like this. How fair is it to look at gender sensitization in binaries when we talk about,
in
like in binaries, either male or female, because we are in India acknowledging the positions of transgenders as well.
so
So
I
how
couldn't hear
fair
you.
is,
Can you be a little more louder? I'm not able to hear you.
just a second, madam, there might be
Yeah,
some technical glitches. Let me
yeah.
just rectify that. Madam, am I audible now?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Fine. So the question is this: how fair it is to talk in binaries about gender? Like how fair it is to talk about males and females alone, when in India we are acknowledging the positions of transgenders as well.
Can you just write it in the chat? Just talking of transgenders, right?
Yeah.
How fair
How
is it?
fair is it to talk about only men and women, only male and
Yeah, see,
female?
transgenders, I mentioned in the first when I said transgenders are different, but transgenders have their own, I have spoken of transgenders too because it is, transgenders are part and parcel of our lives, but because we are talking of gender sensitization, I spoke of men and women. Of course, there has to be a sensitivity towards transgenders too. And they are doing phenomenal work. There are they've come into Panchayati Raj systems in Madhya Pradesh. They are dancers. Nartaki Natarajan is a great dancer. So I think we do need to bring them into the space also.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. One last question. In institutes of higher education, where there can be very limited space for liberal arts, how do you think the teachers or the faculty members can actually bring in or carry out gender sensitization task to the
Okay.
students?
Some of the institutes I think do offer liberal arts, right? As a
Yes.
IIT, I think has they have to take some of the art subjects at NIT. I don't know whether it is there. IIT they do need to have to take. Then I think you can, you liberal arts, you can have courses, so you can have some certificate courses you can run for, anything for the appreciation of liberal arts. And teachers themselves are getting sensitized. I think there are a lot of programs that teachers themselves undergo. I mean, they do take training and they are also sensitive to a lot of things. I think they will help in this kind of sensitization programs, gender sensitization for students.
Okay, thank you, madam.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for addressing us today on our third day, and this being the first lecture in the series that we have organized. Thank you very much, and the session is declared over. Thank you very much for your presence once again from all of us, the organizing committee, and on behalf of NIT Trichy and its officers club. Thank you very much, madam.
Thank you so much.